So today we're going to work with a sketch because I found this sketch from Page Maps. I found it on the Facebook group for the Secret Not Secret Kit Club, and it just begged for sequins and fun fall things. So I decided that it would be my project for this week for Spiegelmom Scraps. And it is also going to be posted in the Secret Not Secret Kit Club Facebook group. Blah. So right now I am just looking through my fall kit. Some of these are part of a curated kit that I purchased from the Wild Hare, and some of them are little bits and pieces I have bought since then and added to the fall kit. And yeah, I've been trying to just stick to those. So I flipped through the kit and I picked out a couple of things that I wanted to use from the kit, and then I also grabbed these cut files that are free in the Spiegelmom Scraps blog. I'm going to end up using the one at the top that says Hello Fall. And now I'm going through all of my extensive sequin collection, and that's not even all of them. Those are just the ones that are currently in the shop. Let's not talk about all the things I have that are not in the shop anymore. And I'm going to grab 2 sets of sequins, the Sugar Maple sequins and the Falling Leaves sequins. Pulled out a couple different ones and kind of thought about grabbing some of those, but as soon as I saw that those bright corally flat back sequins that were in the Falling Leaves collection, I knew that that was what I wanted because I really wanted to bring in some of those gorgeous orangey corally colors that are in my photo. And so I'm going to start by choosing a background paper and getting to work on this layout. So I did end up trimming my photo here just a little bit. The this is a 4x6 print, and the sketch calls for, I think it's like 5 by 3.5 or something. I ended up going with 5 by 4 because I didn't mind cutting off the real dark kind of leaves that were off to the right of my picture, but I didn't want to cut. When I tried to make it at like 3.5, it just looked like I was cutting too much of the photo off. So I just said, forget it, we're not doing it. So I want to add a 3 by 4 card beside this picture of the leaves, and I'm actually considering doing it this way and using that autumn as my, it says autumn is in the air, and I thought about using that as my title, but I liked the coral or the tealy color better. So I'm cutting my papers for my grid design here, and for this top right, I choose this Pink for Studio paper. It's from the Escape the Ordinary collection, and I only have 1 sheet of it, and it's my absolute favorite paper. So I'm trying to spread it out over lots of different layouts. This pattern paper is from Echo Park, and I thought it pulled all of the colors in my photo together. So we have some gray, we have a little green, and we have a little coral, we have a little of that aqua color, and I just thought it brought all the colors in my photo together. So since that paper is a little bit busy and my photo is just this swath of multicolored, I chose 2 patterns that were a little bit calmer, and so that your eye could kind of travel around the layout well. So I want to make sure that this grid is like perfect. So I'm using my T-square ruler, and I'm going to use it to line up all 4 of my parts of this little grid and line them up and get them adhered. So now that everything is together and I know it's all even, I'm going to go ahead and grab my T-square ruler again, and I'm going to go ahead and create a border around my grid. So I'm going to measure this out and just lightly draw with a pencil line a border around my whole layout. And at the end of this layout, you'll see why I'm going to go ahead and glue down about 1,000,000 sequins to create a frame around my layout. But I just want to mark where that frame is going to be. So as I embellish and create the rest of my layout, I know where those sequins are going to need to go to create the frame that I want around my layout. So the sketch calls for some trim that goes down the middle of the page, and I really wanted to add that to the layout. So I went through and I grabbed just anything that I thought might work, anything that I thought maybe would go with my colors. And so I ended up going, I hope you like what I chose, because I went through and looked at just so many different sequin or combinations of ribbons and ribbon combinations. What I'm going to settle on is this kind of warm gold color, which is like a seam binding. And then I'm also going to go with this glittery corally color from Close to My Heart. So for seam binding, I go ahead and put it through my Xyron sticker maker. I do this with just about all of my ribbons and fabric trims if I'm going to use them, unless they already have adhesive on them. I find this to be the easiest way to get a lot of adhesive on these types of ribbons. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the edges the way that I want them. I'm going to give them a little bit of a haircut or trim. And then I'm going to slowly unravel the seam binding right onto my page. And I'm going to use those glue dots to create a little bit of a pleat as I go down. Now, in my head, the pleats looked more obvious than they end up doing in person. So I don't think I needed them. But at this point, I really didn't know that until I figured out that they weren't going to really kind of pop off the page like I maybe thought that they were. I go ahead and add them as I go down the page. So now I'm just going to add some staples to the top and bottom of that ribbon, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my glittery Close to My Heart ribbon, which is already has adhesive on it, so it's really easy to just kind of grab and put on. So now I put my title on it. I'm totally going to like. So I glued it down, and then I decided I didn't like the way it was, so I'm going to move it over. But of course it's from black cardstock, and it was already glued down, so it's going to make these little black dots. But that's okay, because later on I'm just going to cover them up. So yeah, that is the joy of a process video, I think. You can see that I scrapbook just like you, and I glue stuff down and decide I don't like it and pull it up, and then I just hide stuff, right? Just cover it up if you make a mark. So I'm going to go ahead and add the date stamp for this photo. And the next thing I'm going to do is kind of think about embellishments. I'm going to go ahead and do a completely different embellishment than what the sketch calls for, because I just wasn't feeling, I don't know, I just kind of went off on my own little artistic license at this point. Because the elements from the sketch that I loved were on my page, and so I just kind of set the sketch aside and moved on. So I'm going to add this little chipboard tree right here because it was super duper cute, and you saw me pull all the adhesive off the back of chipboard because that's what I do with chipboard. I pull all the adhesive off the back. And now I'm going to fussy cut and punch oodles and oodles and oodles of leaves. So I'm going to take this paper. This was an Echo Park paper that was in my wild hair kit, and I loved it. It has this gorgeous wood grain on the back. I used it in my last Spiegelmom Scraps layout too. It's just beautiful, and I loved both sides of it, so I was kind of being stingy with it a little bit so that I could go ahead and use both sides of it. So I fussy cut a whole bunch of leaves out, and I'm going to take all those leaves. Some of them are pop dyed, all of them have some Vintage Photo Distress ink on them, and I just kind of laid them out. And I'm actually going to move them right off camera after I turned the camera off, but you'll see it in the close-ups and in the video in the photos at the end. So I'm just going to pop up, punch out some more leaves from, this is an older Creative Memories leaf punch. You can't get it anymore, but it is it was like the perfect leaf punch. I love it so much. And I think I use it just about every fall on at least one layout, if not more. So I wanted to pull some of that tealy color up into the Pink Fresh Studio paper just so that all of my colors were kind of spread evenly around the layout. And so that's what you see me here doing now, just punching some of these leaves and adding some Vintage Photo Distress ink and going ahead and gluing them down and cleaning up as I go, because that's how I roll. So now we're going to start to work. Oh no, first I want to grab this. So this is a flare badge. It was in my wild hair kit, and it is from A Flare for Buttons. And I think it's super duper cute. And I decided that I wanted to put it right there. I felt like I wanted to break up that line just a little bit and just, you know, add some interest to it. And I felt like the flare really did the job of doing that. So now I'm going to grab these sequins, and yes, this was tedious, and total time for this layout was 1 hour and 41 minutes. So that's how long this video was before I started editing or kind of pulling it together. And so you can imagine how much of that layout or how much of that video time was me gluing down sequins. So yes, it does take a long time, but I'm telling you guys, you cannot beat the detail and just the gorgeousness of having like a really nice sequin element on a page. So I really like it when I can find a page design that allows me to do a shaker, or that allows me to do a die cut and fill in some of those die cuts with sequins, because I feel like that's when the sequins shine. When you have a definite kind of element on your page that is sequins. So for half of this frame, I used my Zotz Bling. And then for half of this frame, I went through and did Scotch Quick Dry Adhesive, because this is my last box of Zotz Bling, and I'm not buying a lot right now, so I'm just trying really hard. I want to try to make that last box last as long as I can before I am forced to go buy more. So I'm sorry, I think I'm losing my voice a little bit. So as you can see here, I am just kind of erasing that pencil line just a little bit, just so that it's still there, but it's not quite as dark, because some of my sequins are clear or white colored, and I didn't want you to be able to see the pencil line through the sequins. And then, so this frame is where I call my layout done. I finished the frame, and then if you notice in this layout, the lines of this layout are a little bit wonky. So you've got like a diagonal line kind of going, but it doesn't quite finish. And then you've got leaves up in that real busy patterned paper at the top. And after I got all finished with this and looked at it, I decided that I needed to move all those leaves. So this was after I turned the camera off, after I turned everything off, so I added lots of close-ups and a nice still video of the layout, so you can see how the frame turned out all at the end. And then you can also get a look, see right there how I smoothed the leaves over, so now we have a good clear diagonal line. I hope you've enjoyed this video today, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye!